Ava Durowe adjusted her blazer as she stepped out of the sleek black car. The young CEO had built her aviation tech company, Skyfleet Systems, from scratch. It wasn't just software, it was a revolution in sustainable jet management, and today she was set to present it to the most exclusive audience imaginable, a gathering of private jet owners worth over $700 million collectively. The event was hosted at a private hangar outside Los Angeles. The billionaires, men who owned fleets of jets, global resorts and islands, were known for being ruthless in business. Ava wasn't naive. She knew they had laughed at green aviation before, but she had data, contracts pending, and technology that could slash their operating costs while cutting emissions. Her assistant whispered, "They're not easy to impress. Be sharp, be bold." Ava nodded, hiding the weight pressing on her chest. She had fought too long to turn back now. Inside the hangar, champagne glasses clinked, expensive watches flashed under the lights, and the air smelled of power. Ava stepped forward when introduced, but before she could speak, one of the men smirked. "Who let a little tech startup girl in here?" He mocked, loud enough for others to hear. Laughter rippled through the group. Her jaw tightened, but Ava forced a calm smile. "I'm here to save you money and future-proof your fleets. That is, if you're not afraid of innovation." Another owner scoffed. "Sweetheart, we don't take advice from outsiders who've never even owned a jet." The humiliation burned. Cameras captured the exchange, intended to embarrass her. What they didn't know was that Ava had come prepared for more than just a pitch. The laughter echoed through the hangar like sharp glass. Ava's hands remained steady, though her heart raced. Years of pitching to investors had taught her composure under pressure, but this was different. These weren't venture capitalists. These were billionaires used to control, mockery and dominance. One of them, Harold Wexler, owner of 12 jets, raised his glass toward her. "So tell us, Miss CEO, do your little software codes also teach us how to fly, or do we need coloring books to understand?" Another chimed in. "Maybe she's here to lecture us about carbon footprints, save the world, one jet at a time." Adorable. The group roared again, slapping each other on the back, basking in their cruelty. Ava's assistant shifted uncomfortably, but Ava lifted her chin. "I didn't come here to win popularity contests," she replied firmly. "I came with numbers, real numbers. Last quarter, our clients saved an average of 14.7% in operating costs. That's millions, gentlemen." A hush lingered for a second. Then Harold sneered. "We didn't get rich by clipping coupons, sweetheart. Phones flashed. Someone was recording, their laughter streaming live to private group chats filled with executives, influencers, and even rival CEOs. Ava knew the damage was spreading fast. Still, she pressed on. "It's not about coupons, it's about the future. Fuel efficiency, predictive maintenance, real-time optimization. Within 5 years, regulators will make sustainability mandatory. You'll need what I've built, whether you admit it or not." But her words were drowned out as one of the billionaires dramatically yawned. Another raised a fake violin, mimicking music while others clapped sarcastically. The humiliation was complete. Ava's cheeks flushed, but her voice didn't waver. Deep down, she knew something they didn't, something that would soon turn their laughter into silence. By the time Ava left the hangar that night, her phone was buzzing non-stop. She slipped into the back seat of her car, exhaling slowly. Her assistant, Mira, looked at her with worried eyes. "They recorded everything," Mira said. "It's already online." Ava tapped her screen. Sure enough, the clip of Harold Wexler mocking her had exploded across social media. Captioned "Billionaires Roast Young CEO," it had already crossed 2 million views in under 3 hours. Comment sections were ablaze. "Disgraceful. Typical rich men crushing innovation. Who is she? I'm supporting whatever she's building." Though humiliating, Ava realized the exposure could be her weapon. She didn't need their approval if the world saw the truth. By morning, major business outlets had picked up the story. Headlines read, "CEO Ava Durowe humiliated at jet owners' gala, but her technology could change aviation forever." Investors Ava had never spoken to began reaching out. Emails poured in. Venture capital firms, environmental groups, even journalists who wanted exclusive interviews. But the jet owners didn't back down. Harold Wexler himself went on a podcast, laughing about how some little startup girl thinks she can rewrite aviation with a laptop. His arrogance fueled the fire. What he didn't anticipate was the backlash. Environmental leaders demanded answers. Aviation blogs began questioning why the industry's richest players mocked a woman offering practical solutions. Customers began tagging the billionaire's companies, asking why they weren't adopting Ava's system. Ava stared at her phone, realizing the humiliation had ignited something much bigger than she expected. She whispered to Mira, "They thought they ended me, but they just gave me the spotlight." A comeback had already begun. Within 48 hours, Ava's humiliation had transformed into a movement. The clip of Harold sneering at her wasn't just trending, it was being dissected by analysts, shared by activists, and praised by entrepreneurs who admired her composure. "You didn't flinch," Mira said proudly, scrolling through the comments. "That calm smile, it's everywhere. They're calling it the Durowe look." Ava shook her head. "I didn't plan any of this, but maybe it's exactly what we needed." Meanwhile, behind closed doors, the billionaires were growing uneasy. A leaked email revealed that two of them were considering pulling out of Harold's joint investment group. The optics were too dangerous. Their brands were suffering. Still, Harold mocked Ava on every platform that would host him. A fad, he insisted, a girl with spreadsheets. But his arrogance only widened the gap. Sponsors quietly reached out to Ava, signaling interest. Then came the blow Harold hadn't expected. A European airline, publicly known for its luxury service, announced it had signed an initial deal with Skyfleet Systems. The $120 million contract shattered the narrative. Ava's humiliation was turning into historic leverage, and the billionaires were now scrambling to regain control. The billionaires regrouped in a private villa, their frustration boiling. Harold slammed a glass onto the marble table. "She's making us look like fools. That contract should have been ours to dismiss." Another owner leaned forward. "We underestimated her. The public's on her side now. If we don't crush her, regulators will force us into her system within 5 years." Their strategy shifted from mockery to sabotage. They hired lobbyists to question Skyfleet's credibility, pushing headlines that painted Ava as inexperienced. Anonymous articles appeared online. Unproven CEO gambles with airlines' futures. But Ava anticipated the counterattack. Instead of retreating, she doubled down, hosting a live-stream demonstration of her software. The event showcased predictive maintenance in real time, highlighting how one small adjustment could prevent engine failure mid-flight. Hundreds of thousands tuned in. Pilots, engineers, and even mechanics left comments of support. "This isn't theory, it works." Harold, watching from his villa, felt his grip slipping. Every smear campaign backfired, making Ava look stronger. "She's dangerous," he muttered, pacing. But Ava wasn't just surviving, she was expanding. Behind the scenes, 3 more airlines were in talks. And soon, Harold's empire would feel the cracks the breaking news hit like a thunderclap. 7 major contracts worth over $700 million were suddenly withdrawn from Harold Wexler's consortium. At first, insiders whispered it was market shifts, but soon the truth leaked. 2 of the airlines had entered talks with Ava's Skyfleet Systems. The others cited reputation concerns after Harold's public ridicule of her went viral. Harold exploded during a board meeting. "You're telling me a girl with software cost us nearly $1 billion in 48 hours? His CFO nodded grimly. "Investors don't want the bad press. She's the safer bet now." Meanwhile, Ava sat in her modest office, stunned by the headlines. Mira rushed in, waving her tablet. They cancelled Harold's deals. "It's all over the news." Ava leaned back slowly. She hadn't lifted a finger against him. His arrogance had done the work for her. Still, she remained cautious. "This isn't victory. It's the opening." Her phone buzzed. It was a message from one of the largest private jet manufacturers in the world. "We'd like to discuss exclusive integration. Urgent." For Ava, humiliation had transformed into historic opportunity. For Harold, it was the beginning of collapse. The boardroom was silent as Ava entered the headquarters of Aerolux Manufacturing, one of the most influential private jet makers in the world. Executives, who once ignored her, now stood to shake her hand. "Ms. Durowe," the chairman began, "we've monitored the fallout. Your system is the future. We want Skyfleet integrated across our new fleet line." Ava listened carefully, masking her excitement. This wasn't just a contract, it was validation. If Aerolux embraced her technology, others would follow. "What's your offer?" she asked firmly. The chairman slid a folder across the table. The numbers were staggering, a multi-year partnership worth over $300 million. But more than money, it meant Ava's system would become standard in luxury aviation. Mira's eyes widened, but Ava stayed composed. "Integration will require full data access and joint branding. My company isn't just a vendor, it's a partner." After a pause, the chairman nodded. "Agreed." Meanwhile, Harold watched from afar as the news leaked. His empire, once untouchable, was crumbling. Investors who once worshipped him now questioned his judgment. Ava had gone from being mocked in a hangar to holding the keys to the industry's future, and Harold knew it wasn't over. Harold Wexler sat in his penthouse office, staring at the latest report. Red lines slashed across the charts. Losses, withdrawals, headlines calling him the face of outdated aviation. His empire was bleeding, and the name Ava Durowe appeared in every article as the disruptor behind it. Slamming his fist on the desk, he barked, "Find me leverage!" Something to bury her. His PR team scrambled, digging into Ava's past, her company's finances, anything that could discredit her. One advisor hesitated. "Sir, every angle we attack makes her stronger. The public sees her as the underdog." Harold sneered. "Then we'll crush her privately. Deals, politics, whatever it takes." Meanwhile, Ava was in New York, finalizing the Aero-Lux partnership. Cameras flashed as she signed the agreement. Reporters shouted questions, one asking, "Ms. Durowe, what do you say to Harold Wexler calling you a temporary distraction?" Ava smiled calmly. "Distractions don't rewrite industries. My team and I are here to stay." The crowd erupted in applause, her composure fueling the narrative of resilience. Watching the coverage from his penthouse, Harold felt the walls closing in. For the first time in his career, he wasn't the hunter. He was the prey. Within days, headlines shifted. Anonymous reports accused Skyfleet of falsifying data. A sudden leak suggested Ava had exaggerated her software's savings. Mira slammed the newspaper onto Ava's desk. "This is Harold. He's desperate." Ava scanned the article calmly. "Then we prove them wrong. Facts beat lies." She scheduled a live demonstration, this time inviting regulators, airline executives, and the press. Engineers ran diagnostics in real time. As the system flagged a fuel inefficiency, Ava explained, "This adjustment alone saves $2.7 million annually across a 10-jet fleet." The audience gasped. Reporters scribbled furiously. The smear evaporated under the weight of undeniable proof. That night, Ava's face appeared on prime-time television. A host declared Harold Wexler tried to smear her. Instead, Ava Durowe just humiliated him with data. Meanwhile, Harold's investors were in open revolt. One board member confronted him directly. "She's beating you with facts, Harold. We're hemorrhaging money while she's gaining contracts." Harold's jaw tightened. "I don't care. If she wants war, I'll give her war." But Ava wasn't playing his game anymore. She was rewriting the rules, and every step Harold took only dragged him deeper into his downfall. The financial markets spoke louder than Harold ever could. Stocks tied to his consortium plummeted as rumors of instability spread. Meanwhile, Skyfleet systems surged in value, drawing new investors daily. At a tense emergency meeting, Harold's board confronted him. 700 million lost, 3 airlines gone, Aero-Lux defected, and every smear you launch backfires. Harold slammed the table. "You think I'll bow to some rookie CEO? Never." But his voice no longer carried the same authority. The room was silent, the board members' eyes filled with doubt. That same week, Ava was honored at a global sustainability summit. Leaders praised her resilience, calling her software the cornerstone of aviation's future. Cameras captured her walking on stage to thunderous applause, the image a direct contrast to the humiliating laughter she endured weeks earlier. Reporters asked, "What do you say to those who dismissed you?" Ava's answer was simple. "Innovation doesn't need permission from the powerful, it only needs courage." The line went viral overnight. Back in his penthouse, Harold watched the broadcast, rage consuming him. For the first time, he felt powerless. And deep down, he realized the truth. Ava hadn't just beaten him, she had replaced him. Regulators launched an inquiry into Harold's consortium after whistleblowers leaked internal documents. The papers revealed attempts to manipulate fuel reports and conceal rising maintenance failures. News outlets pounced. Wexler empire under investigation. Investors fled, and Harold's name, once synonymous with dominance, became shorthand for corruption. Meanwhile, Ava's reputation soared. Airlines announced pilot programs with Skyfleet, universities invited her to speak, and young entrepreneurs hailed her as proof that resilience could topple giants. One evening, Mira placed a tablet on Ava's desk. "You need to see this." It was a viral clip of Harold outside his office, swarmed by reporters. His once polished voice cracked under pressure. "Mr. Wexler, do you regret mocking Ava Durowe? Was humiliating her worth losing $700 million? His silence was louder than any denial. Ava watched quietly. She felt no triumph, only clarity. "This isn't about revenge," she murmured. "It's about building something that outlasts people like him." Mira smiled. "And you're doing exactly that." As Harold's empire unraveled, Ava prepared for her biggest announcement yet. A global rollout plan that would cement her place at the forefront of aviation's future. Her humiliation had become her crown. The stage lights dimmed as Ava stepped before a sea of reporters, investors, and airline executives. Behind her, a massive screen displayed the words Skyfleet Global Initiative. She spoke with measured confidence. "What began as a vision in a small office is now reality. Today, I'm announcing Skyfleet's integration across 5 international airlines, with expansion into Asia and the Middle East by year's end." The crowd erupted in applause. Flashbulbs popped as journalists shouted questions. Mira, standing at the edge of the stage, whispered to herself, "We did it." Meanwhile, Harold watched the broadcast from a lonely corner of his penthouse. His phone buzzed with notifications, resignations from board members, notices of frozen assets, and lawsuits stacking against him. The empire he once ruled had collapsed in months. On social media, a split-screen image went viral, Ava standing tall in front of the rollout banner, and Harold caught by paparazzi, disheveled and angry. The caption read, "From humiliation to history." Ava ended her speech with words that cut through the noise, "Innovation wins when arrogance fails." This is not just about technology, it's about trust. The world listened, and Harold's silence was deafening. The investigation into Harold Wexler reached its peak. Federal authorities raided his offices, seizing documents and servers. News anchors reported live as footage showed executives escorted out in handcuffs. Once untouchable, a reporter declared, Harold Wexler now faces charges of fraud and corporate misconduct. The public reaction was brutal. Former allies distanced themselves overnight, claiming ignorance of his schemes. Luxury brands dropped endorsements. The man who once mocked Ava on camera was now the face of scandal. Across town, Ava watched the coverage quietly. Mira entered with a grin. "You've done it. He's finished." Ava shook her head. "No, Harold did this to himself. I just refused to break." Later that evening, Ava received an unexpected call. It was one of Harold's former partners. His voice was strained. "Ms. Durowe, I misjudged you. We all did. If there's a chance to work with Skyfleet..." Ava's reply was calm but firm. "Skyfleet partners with those who respect progress, not mock it. Thank you, but no." Her refusal became another headline, reinforcing her integrity. Harold's downfall wasn't just financial, it was moral, and Ava had emerged as the industry's new standard of power. Months later, Ava Durowe stood inside a gleaming hangar filled with next-generation aircraft equipped with Skyfleet systems. Journalists toured the facility, marveling at how her software had become the industry standard. One reporter asked, "How does it feel, knowing you turned humiliation into a global empire?" Ava smiled softly. It was never about humiliation. It was about resilience. Every laugh, every insult, it pushed me to prove that innovation can't be silenced. Her words resonated worldwide. Universities began teaching case studies on her journey. Young entrepreneurs cited her as proof that one person could disrupt entire industries. Meanwhile, Harold Wexler faced trial, his empire dismantled. The man who once mocked Ava's worth had become a cautionary tale. During a private celebration, Mira raised a toast. To Ava, the CEO who rewrote the skies. Ava clinked glasses but stayed grounded. "This isn't just my victory, it's for every underdog told they don't belong. Because sometimes, being underestimated is the greatest power you can have." As the hangar doors opened, sunlight poured across rows of aircraft ready to launch. Ava Durowe's story was no longer about humiliation. It was about history and the future she had claimed.